It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome and congratulate you, the 2019 grads of Idyllwild Arts. Yeah. When you get older, your eyes start to go, so forgive me if I lose my place. Welcome to your village. The members of the Idyllwild Arts Foundation, its chair, Jeff Dvorak, the outstanding teaching and administrative team led by a prestigious and forward-thinking president, Pamela Jordan, our donors whose generous support provide an economic base that sustains this institution, and lastly, welcome to your parents, family, and friends, whose commitment to supporting you and your efforts to achieve excellence in your art brought you to this moment. Thank you, President Jordan, for asking me to speak. It is a tremendous honor for me. Your invitation for me to speak here today made my wife beam with pride. The only thing I think would make her happier is if I remembered to put my socks in the laundry that are on the floor. Most of you may not know who I am. I am one of you. I graduated from what was then called Idyllwild School of Music and the Arts, or ISAMATA, in 1989. On this site, students maintained a challenging and rigorous schedule of arts classes, performance, and exhibits in partnership with Elliott Pope Preparatory Academy. Students from ISAMATA rode a bus up the hill every day, took required classes in academics, and thereby fulfilled all California's high school graduation requirements. By the time your graduating class arrived, the campus had evolved into a fully accredited high school that provided students with all courses necessary to achieve a high school diploma, as well as the highly prized arts certificate only made available to them at our school. My mom, who raised me as a single parent, opened the door to Idyllwild Arts when she read an article in the LA Times about a private boarding school for music and arts in our mountains. Knowing we could not afford the tuition and aware of the racially diverse family in which we lived, she picked up the phone, dialed the school, and landed in a conversation with one of the original founders, Headmaster Bill Lohman. I was told, she said to him, I have an African-American kid who is pretty talented on the trombone. Do you have a minority scholarship? Headmaster Lohman replied, no, we don't have minority scholarships. We have music scholarships. Can he play? And in her boastfully proud way, she replied, hell yes, he can play. So they set up an audition for the following Sunday morning. I played Morceau Symphonique, and I was accepted. I had no idea at the time what an immensely formative experience I would have. Whew. It's very emotional. Yeah, okay. So I got to study with the late Ken Hanlon, who then was director of the school. No pressure, right? Looking back on it now, what an incredible opportunity it was to study with this man. He was a career educator and a professional musician whose background included membership in the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra and directorship of brass studies at UNLV. Mr. Hanlon molded me into the best trombonist he could, considering what he was working with, 15-year-old Jason. Prior to that time, I had no exposure to such superior professional level of musicians. Professor Hanlon introduced me to that world. I was awed, and he was clear the degree of focus and hours of practice it would take for me to become a professional musician. The man opened up my musical eyes to the vast and varied field of trombone study, and at all times during our lessons, his musical demands and requirements were intended to develop my trombone skills to the highest level of professionalism. At ISAMATA, I was exposed, as you, to college-level study in all of my subjects. From here, we are expected to take it further. Marshall Hawkins. founder of the jazz program here at the Idyllwild Arts, had my back. He took me under his wing and gave me the training I needed to grow as a student, a jazz musician, and a basketball player. When I arrived on campus, Marshall was basketball coach at Elliott Pope. When we had an opportunity to share a conversation, it didn't take him long to throw a basketball at me and watch me move around the court. I was never really the player he pretended I was, but I worked hard. And one year, I think I held the record for the most assists in our league. Our team developed a camaraderie and respect for each other, much like I see here. We won a few games, but what grew on those basketball courts was a trust, respect, friendship, and love that continues until today. Yes, Marshall put me through the ringer, jazz ensemble, theory classes, etc. But more importantly, he treated me like I was his own son. When things got rough, he was there for me. And I have to say, it's nice to see Marshall getting his due respect now. In no small part to President Jordan's leadership. All we want to do is make him proud by practicing hard and performing our best. I could not give this address without acknowledging my late dear friend and dorm roommate, Sam Karam, class of 1991. I'm falling apart here. Okay. Sam was exceptionally talented, and he was my best friend. We were the cool jazz cats on campus, and we relished the role. I remember we would walk around campus with sunglasses on, horns in hand, serenading anyone who would listen, or more often, anyone who would not yell at us to stop playing. We would play anything from the Mozart Clarinet Concerto to Straight Note Chaser by Thelonious Monk. It never occurred to me that I could not become proficient in both jazz and classical disciplines of music, despite many telling me to stick to one genre, because Sam did it constantly, without any effort. And he did it well enough that he was accepted to the Juilliard School. He was my brother. I am so thankful to have had his bright spirit in my life. The rigorous academic and arts training here at the Arts Academy inspires your curiosity. Use this curiosity to make informed choices every day. The choices you make determine what tomorrow brings. How do you know what the right choice is? Well, there are some choices that seem simple on their face. 1 + 1 will always equal 2 in my mind. Life choices, though, are not always so clear. You'll want to say, bummer, it doesn't matter what I choose. There's no way of knowing. And I have to admit, there's some truth to that. In certain cases, you don't always know what the best choice is, or the right choice. You see, as artists, we are the keepers of humanity. It is our responsibility to share its beauty, love, and joy with the rest of the world. So be proud of your choices. There has never been a time when the arts were needed more. We are living in a world in which people are measured by their material gains. To that, I say, don't compromise your art for anyone. Like my mom says, reach for the stars. Even if you land on the moon, you've gone a hell of a long way. Another Idyllwild Arts Academy lesson I share often with my students is to simply slow down. It's not about quantity where art is concerned. It's about honesty. Be connected to your art in a way that is granular. The only way to achieve this is through slow and methodical practice. I remember Marshall Hawkins telling me once, it's not about how many notes you play, it's about how you play each note. An important lesson we learn here is to not be afraid to put ourselves out there. All progress involves a certain amount of risk, and do not let fear deter you. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see some of the same qualities in students now as when I attended the Idyllwild School of Music and the Arts. Here you discovered that no one can be a better you than you. You are unique. Develop your uniqueness instead of comparing yourself to others. Don't be Katie, a character in the Broadway show Mean Girls, that I happen to sub on occasionally. Katie wants to be popular like the Queen Bee Regina so badly she loses her uniqueness. In doing so, she loses her closest friend and a boy she has a crush on. This is a good lesson for us all. Base your choices on where you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and make your decisions based on that. What other people think of you does not define you and should not define you. I'm not going to sugarcoat the challenges that await you. It gets harder. And how lucky you are to be graduating from a school that has prepared you for those challenges. You will encounter colleagues whose perspectives may not have evolved as yours. Some you will like and some you won't. You will have to work with them and you will be better for it. Always remember the people who work here love you. Your parents love you. And they love you unconditionally. The world you are about to enter may not be so forgiving, but remember, those who do love you are still here in your life, supporting your transitions. This continuous journey to be the best that I can be has never been more important to me than now, primarily because I am a father, but as a trombone professor at Juilliard School, my students challenge me constantly. They push me to stretch my understanding of life and music so that I may be able to guide them. It is my mission to share with those who come after me what I know as I charge ahead through my personal and musical life. Sharing one's gifts is how we share our humanity. Being a teacher is an essential part of being an artist. My first teacher, my mother, told me the only obstacles that could slow me down would be the ones I put in front of me. Do not spend your energy judging your self-worth. You are worthy to be you. So be the best you can be. Persevere, never give up, be hopeful, trust yourself, and always work hard towards your goals. You'll end up doing something special. It's not always the doing of it that is difficult, actually. It's staying focused, keeping the goal in mind, and not letting the noise keep you from achieving. Congratulations.